Yo, what is up, YouTube? It is your boy Charlie Main, and welcome back to another video. And I want to say first things first, to get everything out the way, man. Y'all absolutely killed it on my last video, bro. Right now, as I'm looking at it, it's at 670 views, and I dropped it like 2 days ago, basically. 2 days ago, it's at 670 views. That's unheard of for me, bro. Like, this is absolutely crazy milestone for me. I also hit my 200 subs as of today, not just now, but as of earlier today, hit 200 subs, and that's all thanks to y'all, bro. I appreciate y'all watching videos, commenting. Comments went crazy on this video too. Speaking of comments, let me see real quick. Joselio the Astrology 3. This man was going crazy in my comments for that video, and he definitely wanted me to watch all of them. And I will say that this video will be a slight bit longer just for my homeboy. Just because he asked me to. I mean, he didn't ask me to. He kind of like went a little skits in the comments. But yeah, I'm going to rewatch the ones that we was watching before that I skipped through. And then we're going to watch the new ones. So, Joselio, this is for you. It's part 2, SCPs. If y'all haven't seen it already, check out the thing. So it's over here. It's like right there. And usuals. Please hit the like button. Please comment. Please subscribe. Please share it with a friend, and please hit that noti bell so you can know when I upload stuff. Like right when I upload it. I even think it tells you when I premiere stuff. It tells you 30 minutes early. Who doesn't want that, bro? Like, I'm dropping bangers, bro, and you can get to see them right away. It's a win-win situation. But yeah, without further ado, this is part 2 of my SCP React videos. So let's get to it. All right, I watched the rest of it, Joselio, but I couldn't put it on the video because that was a lot to sit there and watch through. That's why I was trying to say that I'm not going to sit there and watch through all that because there's a lot of videos and stuff. But yeah, let's just get into the rest of the video. This next SCP.
Corpses littered the facility, around 20 in total. Their massacre had unfolded in a matter of seconds despite their advanced armor and heavy weaponry. Their killer, wielding an ancient sword he'd somehow pulled from thin air, looked upon them with disdain. Weak, unworthy opponents. He breathed heavily. His torso was covered with bullet wounds, and many had punctured his lungs. It was enough to kill a normal man 10 times over, but not him. He was the ultimate warrior, the perfect killing machine.
Nah, wait a minute. I was looking at this real quick, but check this out, bro. Hold on. Let's just look. Let's just go back real quick.
Over, but not
look at that bullet hole on his shoulder.
Warrior,
look at this whole body.
Killing machine.
Those bullet holes are straight through his body to where you can see through him. So I don't even know who this SCP is, bro. What it is. This man is a strong ass individual, first off, but bullet holes through his body. Through his body.
He would need to seek out an enemy more fitting for his legendary combat skills. He fled from the chamber into a connecting hallway, where a giant metal door slammed shut behind him. At the other end of a hall, another door did the same. He laughed at the thought of someone thinking he could be trapped so easily and charged towards it. But then, large valves began to open all around him. Torrents of freezing seawater began pouring in, filling up the chamber and submerging him before he could reach the door. The warrior fought for breath, and yelled it far longer than any mortal man could, especially considering the state of his lungs. But water always wins. He soon gave his last gasp and floated, lifeless in the hallway. And soon after, his body turned to dust and disappeared in the briny water. But he would be back. He'd always be back. His brother was a different story. Tall and handsome, with a strange Sumerian rune tattooed on his forehead. He was practically a pacifist and spent most of his days reading, conversing with the staff, and wandering the facility of his own accord.
So, off rip, this is another one of the plague doctors. That y'all just leaving people loose. The plague doctor literally kills people after chopping it up with him for 45 minutes. I'm over here giving out a random ass time, but regardless, y'all just letting him walk around of his own accord.
On hearing of the latest incident at the facility, he gave a sigh. He knew on some level that all of this was his fault. It'd been centuries, millennia even. But was it too late to make things right? 6 days later, the two are standing face to face. This meeting had been a long time coming, but it was always destined to end in blood and pain. The man with the runic tattoo was unarmed. The only thing he carried was his regrets. The warrior, eyes full of burning fury, drew his sword, and not long after, a head hit the floor. Who are these two strange men, and what is the significance of this fatal meeting? In our own universe, these two may never meet again, but that doesn't mean there isn't a universe out there where they will, and it is that universe where today's tale springs from. The story between these two began a long, long time ago, when they were both set on a course of destruction. But to learn how these two finally met once again, we only need to go back a few days. While they seem more human than a lot of beings under the SCP Foundation's watchful eyes, there's no doubt that these two are anomalous. They're known as SCP-073 and SCP-076.
Why is there a
They're
gap?
known as Cain and Abel. From the name alone, most people with a basic knowledge of the Bible could tell that these two have a connection, but the particulars were largely a mystery to the Foundation. They wanted to know how much of the story was actually true. SCP researchers approached SCP-073, aka Cain, and asked if he'd be interested in
Wait a minute. I gotta ask a question. Is this how we hold guns in the SCP world? This how we hold guns? Like, that must be tactical or something, bro. That must be something that don't nobody know about, because he looks like Katniss Everdeen. Like, what is this? See, them find a lot of holes. No pun intended.
If he'd be interested in reuniting with his brother one last time. It took Cain 3 days to answer yes, but on one condition: that he was the only person who could abort the mission. The Foundation mulled over this requirement for 3 days before the O5 Council finally made a decision. Cross-testing approved. These two brothers, separated by millennia, would finally meet again, and the SCP Foundation would get to watch what happened when they did. Of course, for safety reasons, the cross-test would take place in 076's containment facility, a bedrock chamber 200 meters beneath the sea. That would be the closest thing to safe this fateful meeting could ever be. Though safe was really a relative term when it came to SCP-076. His escape attempts were as frequent and unpredictable as they were deadly, and everyone who'd ever worked with him knew exactly why. To the untrained eye, it would seem strange to create such a complex facility for a 3-meter squared stone cube, known as SCP-076-01. But the cube isn't what's being locked up here. The real danger comes from the corpse stored inside, known as
I was finna say
SCP-076-02, but better known as Abel. He's a lean, olive-skinned man who appears to be in his late 20s. But his most distinct physical feature is the fact he's covered in an elaborate network of arcane and occult tattoos, largely of scowling demonic faces, similar to those found on members of the Yakuza. Whenever Abel's corpse reanimates, as it does at random intervals, everyone in his vicinity is in terrible danger. He's capable of...
So this man is a cat with 9 lives. Either he is in a real life video game, or he's a cat. One of the two. Cats have 9 of them bitches. In video games, you just restart. And this dude just restarting. And he's got unlimited health. Like, you can shoot him with bullet holes, and then he just takes it. Like, he just goes, cute. Like, these dudes, man. If I was an SCP, I'd probably be weak as shit, but that's fine.
Pulling bladed weapons out of miniature dimensional rifts that...
Nah, that was kind of sick. Hold on, bro. He said, let me see.
Pulling bladed weapons out of miniature dimensional rifts that appear around him, though he does this so quickly that it seems as though the weapons are simply materializing in his hands. Despite the increasingly complex efforts to contain him, Abel has been able to breach containment and go on brutal rampages multiple times, killing scores of Foundation personnel in the process. Abel possesses superhuman strength, speed, and durability. During prior containment breaches, he was able to shrug off rounds from 50 caliber machine guns. He's torn through reinforced steel doors. He's even swatted bullets from both handguns and assault rifles.
Oh, this man is a ninja.
With a length of steel rebar. Only killing him can truly end one of these rampages, and the Foundation has had to go to terrifying lengths in order to achieve this during past containment breaches. He's been drowned, asphyxiated, crushed, burned to death with a thermite grenade directly inserted into his chest cavity, and even disintegrated by the activation of the facility's on-site nuclear warhead. This may seem like overkill.
So you mean to tell me that y'all cannot control this man? Got it. Next, cause I'm over it.
Joseph and Frank were two lifelong squatchers. No, that isn't an insult. That's a self...
Off rip, I gotta ask a question. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if y'all actually believe that Bigfoot is real. Because if you believe that Bigfoot is fake and that we're the only person on the planet, one of them is wrong. I'm not the only person on the planet. Only people in the universe. Only intelligent life forms in the universe. But if y'all think that Bigfoot is real, let me know in the comments. That's all I was trying to say. Let's get back to the video.
Given title for Bigfoot enthusiasts who are willing to head out into the woods and search for the legendary Sasquatch firsthand. While most squatchers will go their whole lives without ever encountering one, Joseph and Frank were about to get lucky. They just didn't know what kind of luck. During a journey through the forests of the Pacific Northwest, Frank spotted something moving in the distance. A huge ape-like creature with grayish fur and human-like movements. Frank thought he was finally laying eyes on the mighty Bigfoot after decades of searching. What he didn't know was that he just made a deadly mistake. He had looked directly at SCP-1000, and there would be terrible consequences. Frank was excited. He just achieved the life goal of any squatcher. He tapped Joseph on the shoulder and directed him to look in the direction of the creature. Joseph followed Frank's direction and stared into the distance. When his eyes finally came into focus on the ape-like beast, he froze. His brain just short-circuited. 1 second he was about to encounter the holy grail of his hobby, and the next he was literally brain dead. Joseph collapsed. In the distance, the ape-like creature disappeared back into the woods. Not that Frank even noticed. He was too busy trying to wake Joseph, but it was no use. Joseph was gone, and Frank had no idea why. The headlines read,
"Oh, that man died.
Friend."
This man Bigfoot is worse than Medusa. He literally was walking towards him, chilling. He saw you looking. All right, you're done breathing, and walked off. Like he literally looked at him and said, "You're good. Like your time on Earth is over," and just walked off. And then his homie just died. Is this why Bigfoot's never been found? You mean to tell me this is why Bigfoot's never been found? Because everybody who messes with Bigfoot ends up dying. That makes sense. I can concur. That's cool.
People either ignored it or laughed it off. Just a couple of cranks goofing off in a forest and one of them had dropped dead. Who cares? Well, one organization cared. The SCP Foundation. Mobile Task Force Zeta 1000. The Foundation's specialized SCP-1000 detail were alerted to the reports. They sprang into action, tracking down and detaining Frank for questioning. They process 1 million loony Bigfoot lovers every year and usually find nothing. But the death of Frank's friend made it all too
Imagine
clear.
getting scooped
They
up
hadn't encountered a Bigfoot,
out of nowhere.
A real, genuine example of SCP-1000. SCP-1000 rarely ranks among the scariest or most dangerous SCPs, but underestimating the creature is a terrible mistake, because just looking at it gives you a 2% chance of dropping dead on the spot.
2%?
Frank, despite losing his friend, was one of the lucky ones. The Foundation debriefed him before administering amnestics, and making sure that he'd never venture back into those mysterious forests in the Pacific Northwest region. Director Jones, the site director charged with the management of SCP-1000 populations, was given the information on this latest case of an SCP-1000 related fatality. It was a story he heard many times before. For Director Jones, they all seem to bleed into one another. So what exactly is SCP-1000? And how did it leave poor Joseph dead in the woods? SCP-1000 is a whole species of large hominid ape-like creatures. They're largely nocturnal, but sightings...
So it's big feet. You mean to me it's not just big foot, it's big feet? Because there's a whole species of them. There's more than one of these dudes. Right? Keeps getting better and better.
of the creature during the day aren't unheard of. They're omnivorous, mostly seeming to consume plants and insects, and their fur is usually gray, brown, black, red, or occasionally white. The creatures have large eyes capable of impressive vision nestled underneath a pronounced Neanderthal-like brow. Another defining feature is the ridge of bone on the forehead. much like that of a gorilla that is present in both sexes. According to Foundation studies, the creatures exhibit a level of intelligence on par with that of the common chimpanzee, but nowhere near that of us humans. What they lack in intelligence, though, they make up for in size. The adults can be as large as 10 feet tall and weigh up to 600 pounds. Despite their great size and impressive strength, the creatures are neither aggressive nor territorial. In fact, they seem to instinctively avoid humans, mostly residing deep in the forests of the American Pacific Northwest and in the Himalayan Alps. There have been sightings of SCP-1000 on every continent, though the Foundation has taken pains to exterminate all SCP-1000 populations situated near human population centers to prevent a potential disaster, considering the 2% chance of instantaneous death upon visual contact. That brings us to our second question. What is it that makes these seemingly harmless creatures so dangerous? Sadly, for both these unfortunate creatures and us humans, the danger is beyond the control of SCP-1000. According to Foundation research, SCP-1000 likely evolved alongside us Homo sapiens until a tragedy occurred between 10 and 15,000 years ago. A mysterious extinction event eliminated the vast majority of their species, leaving only 1 to 5% alive in the aftermath. What happened? It's believed that around this time, SCP-1000 contracted what the Foundation refers to as an anomalous pseudo-disease. Meet SCP-1000-F1. A disease that is passed along at the genetic level and is so durable that it persists in the species to this day. The tiny fraction of the population that are immune to its effects manage to survive, but the majority who aren't immune die shortly after birth. This is why the overall population remains relatively low to this day. It's a disease that only appears to affect hominids, including humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, and non-immune instances of SCP-1000. Any hominid that lays eyes on a carrier of the disease has a 2% chance of experiencing immediate brain death. While a 2% chance...
So I could drop dead if I go to the zoo? I go to the Oakland Zoo and not come back. I could go to the Oakland Zoo or the San Diego Zoo, look at a chip and be like, hey, he's funny looking, and then die. That's what you're trying to tell me with this, that they're present in monkeys and us humans. I can't even go to work no more. I might look at a coworker the wrong way and I just pass out and not wake up, ever. 2% chance is kind of high. Somebody's homie just died. Hey.
Chance of instant death may not seem all that threatening, at least when compared to some other nightmare-inducing SCPs. The truly scary part is that the percentage is cumulative. In other words, the longer one observes a carrier of SCP-1000-F1, the higher that percentage rises, the greater your chance of experiencing an abrupt death. According to Foundation studies, the percentage rises by around 1% every 20 minutes, and the percentage also varies between specimens, with some exhibiting a terrifyingly high death chance of 90% upon viewing. This death chance continues to occur.
I promise you, I will never look for Bigfoot. You mean to tell me that I have a 90% chance alongside a 2% chance of dying to Bigfoot by just looking at him, or looking at a monkey, or looking at a human, or looking at anything else that has to do with monkeys or humans? Imagine trying to explain that to God why you died. I looked at a chimpanzee for too long.
In dead specimens if they carry the anomalous pseudovirus while alive, though thankfully the risk doesn't appear to apply to small fur or tissue samples. The Foundation's true concern actually goes far beyond SCP-1000 themselves. Because of the species' close relation to Homo sapiens, there's a worry that SCP-1000-F1 could transmit to humans, causing our own species to meet a similar fate. If humans did indeed become carriers of SCP-1000-F1, it's extremely likely that humanity would undergo an unprecedented extinction event, with billions across the globe dropping dead as brain death sets in en masse.
Monkeypox. It's like COVID. What do Sasquatches look like? Monkeys, right? What do monkeys look like, right? Think about it. Monkeys, right? Okay, cool. We're on the same page, right? What was chickenpox? A disease, right? Oof. We're thinking. Final step. And where do you think monkeypox came from? Monkeys. the government's coming for me. The government is coming for me because I'm over here dissolving everything. I'm over here breaking up everything right now. You mean to tell me that the world's about to end because of monkeys? Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Dude, it's all making sense. These directors are geniuses.
Ask yourself a simple question. Is the world around you real? It seems like the answer should be pretty obvious. Of course the world as you know it is real. How else would you be able to interact with it? Perhaps a better question would be this. How much do you trust that the world you know is real? How much do you believe that reality, as you experience it, is constant and cannot be changed by external forces? Now imagine, if you can, an entity to which the very fabric of reality is like clay, able to be shaped and molded at will. Then imagine that this entity, this malicious, twisted, and unknowable horror, has taken a special interest in you. If you can picture such a scenario, then you may as well be standing in the shoes of James Talleyrand, a Foundation researcher assigned to SCP-3999. Talleyrand could only have imagined what the Foundation kept contained in an airtight cell all the way at the bottom of a kilometer-long shaft, and never expected that this was where his lifeless body would be found. Despite having the entity contained, the Foundation's only knowledge of SCP-3999 came from a text document discovered on Talleyrand's phone after his demise. Even their own records indicated that no such creature ever existed. Why? What could possibly shape reality in such a way that it could hide its own existence from the Foundation? And where was it now? The document on Talleyrand's phone yielded some evidence, seeming to be a long, rambling, and confused account of some sort of battle between a reality-shaping entity and the ill-fated researcher sent to examine it. Unlike many of the—
Dude. I just don't understand why people would want to work with shit like this. Because best believe, if I'm just, looking for a job, right? And they said, hey, we're hiring, but you got to watch this dude. I will pass. However, if they were like, we're paying $100 an hour, you only live once. If they train me the right way, I'm saying, y'all mean? I'll take the $100 an hour to watch this. Is it worth my life? Is it worth my life? I don't know.
To examine it. Unlike many of the Foundation's documents, the entry for SCP-3999 is riddled with contradictions and strike-throughs, a confusing mess of information that makes piecing together the mysteries of Talleyrand's fate all the more difficult. Beneath the strange formatting and uncertainty surrounding SCP-3999 lies the tale of one man's torture for the amusement of an impossibly powerful and eternally sadistic creature. Based on the information available, it appears that SCP-3999 was fixated on Talleyrand. Upon his arrival to the entity's cell, the researcher had no idea how long he would spend in the company of SCP-3999, or that he would never emerge alive. Many SCPs contained by the Foundation require their own specially made prisons in order to hold them and maintain the safety of Foundation staff as well as the outside world. But imagine if an SCP could turn the tables, bending the world around a single member of the Foundation, using all of reality as their own personalized torture chamber.
Never mind. You mean to tell me that this man is like Doctor Strange on steroids? He can bend reality to how he likes it, torture me, my noggin, bro, and can't nobody else see it? I don't care if it was $500 an hour. Fuck that. No. And we're not gonna fly past the fact that there's a giant just breaking down the damn SCP containment area. I just gotta know how the fuck do you contain this shit?